BD5 Pilot with you back out at the Hillsboro hangar on a Saturday morning and working on something some of you have been asking lots of questions about, the motor mount. So this time I've got those verticals cut the correct length, not 9/16 too short like I did last time. And you can see how this is going to work out. I'm going to have that piece of 60-61 angle across the top as well as across the bottom, and another piece of 60-61, 1/8 inch thick, that is going to handle some of the torsional loads, and these is going to get cut out for lighting here. Those aren't going to be a full solid piece like that, but then where these verticals go, that 2 inch by 1.5 inches, I think is the measurement on that, is going to create the firewall, which you remember it's that corrugated material I've got, but that's going to mount to the forward there and come across to where I end up with a flat firewall off the back, and then the sides will be riveted and glued, but that center piece is going to be screwed in so that I can get access and mount all of my ignition system inside of that area. And that's what I've got done this morning. I've made sure that the aircraft itself was leveled to the drive plane. So we come back here to the propeller and you can see I've got that level. And then when it comes to the drive system itself, these dimensions for where this motor mount is going to go, so when I drill the holes, it will be correct that is also level. And a little earlier, I did a job of trying to level it to the sides, but it has been squared as well, so that I've got this all fitting in perfect, I believe, when it comes to mounting the 60-61 in. So right down in here, right where the bolts go through, as well as up at the top, I'm actually have a bolt that attaches there. And I'm probably going to do the same thing out at these outer edges. Out here, I'm going to have a bolt as well, so that I've really triangulated this in well. Also remember, these are going to get drilled out a little larger, and a Delrin shoulder washer is going to go in there. So it's going to be like a bushing system for the motor to isolate some of the higher frequency vibration from coming into that aluminum. And I believe this is going to be an adequate motor mount given the weight and the horsepower and torque of the motor that I'm using. Now once I've got the motor mount forward drilled and a little more secure, I need to work on the rear mount. And right there where that starter attaches, that starter attachment has a threaded area for a bolt that I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to build something out of angle that bolts into that, or do something with maybe a Heim joint and tubular, whether it be aluminum or chromoly, and then just comes down to the outside edge and gives me the proper support I need. But there's that beautiful ZDZ 500 engine, and I am getting more and more impatient to start this up inside of that engine compartment, just to prove the concept's going to work. The concept has to be proven because this engine's never been used with the BD5 drive system, and that ends up being the critical area. Is, does this good drive system and this good engine get along together and not create any of the torsional vibration, harmonic vibration problems that some of the earlier engines had? I've come across a good article regarding the development of the drive system and the measurement of the engines, and using a strobe, looking at the starter ring and some different methods to prove that this is going to be a good installation. This engine's known for being very, very smooth. When if you look at my earlier video, when the ZDZ Engines USA took this engine and mounted it onto a plywood mount and then started it, they hooked up a propeller, and the exhaust was facing the other direction then, because this usually gets used as a tractor in a large scale, 70% scale RC aircraft. The canisters for those exhausts were actually just suspended out the end with the Teflon connectors that they use. Those Teflon connectors and those compression rings were holding that on, and even at the end of those canisters, we were not seeing great vibration. It was actually very smooth, even at the far end. So something that would have really shown if this engine was going to be a rough running engine, actually showed that it was going to be a very smooth running engine. So I'm really happy with the selection of this engine. Excited to see how it's going to work in this concept of the aircraft, which should end up weighing around 350 pounds, I hope, and give me the kind of horsepower and torque, given that weight, that's going to maintain the performance this aircraft needs. And with that, I've got to run my dog to the vet because he's got a loose tooth. So BD5 Pilot is out for today. Hopefully I'll be back out here tomorrow doing a little bit more work. Have a great weekend, everyone.